It was a breezy Saturday morning in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The kind of morning where bookstore windows fog slightly from the warmth inside, and pedestrians clutch coffee cups like lifelines. At the corner of Brattle Street sat Page Turner's, a quaint independent bookstore nestled between a juice bar and a vintage record shop. Inside, the scent of aging paper and fresh espresso hung in the air. A young black woman stepped through the door. She was in her early 30s, with almond brown skin, long braids tied neatly into a bun, and wide, observant eyes behind tortoiseshell glasses. She wore a long navy coat and carried a leather messenger bag tucked close to her side. "Good morning," she said to the clerk at the register. Her voice had a subtle West African lilt, warm and articulate, with careful enunciation. The clerk, a lanky white man in his mid-40s with a permanent scowl and a name tag that read Greg, gave her a perfunctory glance, then turned his attention back to stacking journals. "Do you have the latest edition of the American Literary Review?" she asked. He looked her over again and raised an eyebrow. "We don't carry magazines like that here," he said flatly. "It's not a magazine," she replied politely. "It's a quarterly academic journal. They usually shelve it near the comparative literature section." Greg sighed. "I doubt we have that. Maybe try a library?" The woman's smile didn't waver. "This is the store listed on the journal's website. I'm quite sure it's here." Greg folded his arms. "You a student or something?" "Something like that," she said, adjusting her glasses. He let out a faint scoff. "You'll want the campus bookstore, probably. It's more your speed." Before she could respond, another clerk, a younger girl with dyed pink hair, peeked from the back. "Oh, the new issue just came in yesterday," she called. "It's under the staff picks shelf. We moved it up front for the symposium crowd." The black woman smiled. "Thank you." She walked to the front, picked up the journal, and brought it to the counter. Greg rang her up silently, not meeting her eyes. As she pulled out her card, she paused. "You know," she said calmly, "it's always best to ask before assuming someone doesn't belong." Greg didn't respond. She handed him her Harvard faculty ID along with her credit card. He blinked. "Oh, you're faculty?" She nodded. "Dr. Ama Okoye, professor of comparative literature. I'm moderating the keynote panel at the symposium this afternoon. One of my essays is in this issue." He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "Have a good day," she said kindly, taking her bag. That afternoon, the Harvard Symposium on Literature and Identity buzzed with energy. Students, academics, and journalists packed the auditorium. At the center of the stage sat Dr. Okoye, flanked by two other distinguished scholars. Her lecture, titled "Language, Power, and Belonging: The Colonial Echo in Modern Voice," captivated the room. She wove stories from her Nigerian upbringing with post-colonial theory and contemporary linguistic politics, challenging assumptions about proper English in academic gatekeeping. "An accent is not a flaw. It's a record of survival, migration, and memory," she said. "When you frown at someone's voice, ask yourself, are you listening to what's said or judging who's speaking?" The audience rose to a standing ovation. Back at Page Turner's, Greg watched the live stream playing silently on his coworker's laptop. His expression shifted from disinterest to dawning recognition. There she was, the student he'd dismissed just hours ago, commanding a room of intellectuals with effortless grace. He didn't say a word. The next day, a small placard appeared in the front window of the bookstore. "Now stocking the latest issue of the American Literary Review, featuring work by local author Dr. Ama Okoye." Inside, the journal sat proudly on a display next to a sign that read, "Literature speaks in many accents." Weeks later, Dr. Okoye returned, not for the journal this time, but to browse fiction. A new clerk greeted her warmly. Greg stayed behind the counter, quieter than before. She picked up a novel, smiled to herself, and whispered in her lilted voice, "Still here, still speaking."